Chapter 911. Jasper exclaimed, "Mommy, look. It's so pretty." Oliver said, "It's been a while since I last saw fireworks." Tim claimed, "How pretty. Mr. Watts, more fireworks, please." Zachary requested while clapping his hands. Gavin shouted, "Mommy, it's so beautiful. Look." Orissa smiled in response and watched the dazzling fireworks light up the sky in surprise. Benjamin was happy to know the children and Orissa liked the fireworks very much. Wrapping an arm around Orissa, he also looked up at the enchanting view in the sky. "I want to take some photos." Orissa realized her phone was still in her bag, which she left on the cabinet when she wanted to get her phone to take pictures. "Here, you can use my phone." Benjamin passed his phone to her. With that, Orissa beamed so widely that her eyes became mere slits. Immediately, she took some photos of the fireworks. As Benjamin intently stared at her beaming smile, he could not help but plant a kiss on her cheek. When Edwin saw that, he smiled and averted his gaze to enjoy the fireworks. Meanwhile, Orissa sneaked a glance at her surroundings. She only felt less awkward after knowing everyone was focusing their attention on the fireworks in the sky. Benjamin wrapped his arm around her waist. "Just enjoy the view. Why are you still taking pictures?" "Because it's beautiful," Orissa responded and continued to take a few more photos. She was overjoyed just like her children since she hadn't seen fireworks up close in a long time. Besides that, she took some pictures of the kids as well. Benjamin abruptly got the phone from her and took a selfie of the two of them. Orissa turned around to look at him. "You're taking photos of the children but not me?" Benjamin asked with a smile. Upon hearing his question, Orissa chuckled. "I thought you didn't like it," she replied while looking up at the fireworks. Benjamin snorted in response. "Wow, that is so nice. Look, at the back." "Whoa," the kids cheered in excitement. All of them ran over to Orissa's side to hold her hands and watch the fireworks with her. "Mommy, such beautiful fireworks." "Yes," Orissa exclaimed together with the children while holding their shoulders. Benjamin's lips curved upward slightly when he saw how excited Orissa and the 6 children were. There's more to come. The kids were over the moon. Although the beautiful fireworks lasted 10 minutes and consisted of all kinds of patterns, Orissa still hadn't seen enough of them. Even the 6 children wanted more. Jessie uttered regretfully, "The fireworks finished too soon. That's the longest fireworks I've ever seen." Tim was overjoyed. "Tim, there will be more beautiful fireworks during New Year." Gavin shared the joy with his brother. Tim nodded with anticipation written all over his face. "We'll still have to wait a long time for New Year to arrive." Oliver sighed while pushing his glasses. Zachary heaved a sigh and chimed in, "You're right. There's still a long way until New Year. I can't get enough of the fireworks." Jasper pursed his lips. Gavin nodded. "Me too. Mr. Watts should have ignited more fireworks. We might be able to see the fireworks again when there's an event in the future," Orissa comforted the children. Meanwhile, Kingsley and Jonathan walked over and heard their conversation. "Well, the fireworks cost millions," Kingsley uttered with a smile. Orissa giggled in response. "Since you guys like it so much, let's see the fireworks again a few days later," Benjamin announced. "Isn't that too lavish?" To Orissa, it would be enough to see it once in a while as it would cost a lot to do it frequently. When the kids return to pay respect to their ancestors, we can light the fireworks at night. Benjamin glanced at her before he added, "I can still afford it. Mrs. Graham, Benjamin is rich. If he doesn't spend the money, what is the point of making so much of it and not spending?" Kingsley teased. Orissa merely smiled and said nothing. Benjamin supported her to sit down before he turned around to return to his seat. Edwin added 2 chairs each on one side among the children for Kingsley and Jonathan. "I'm starving. When I saw you guys eating just now, I wished I could rush over to eat with you." Kingsley immediately dug in. Mirth filled Jonathan. When he was over there just now, he almost ran here to urge Benjamin to propose. Orissa looked at them and asked them to have some food. Benjamin swept a glance at the duo. "Thanks." Chapter 912. Kingsley chuckled and slanted Benjamin a look before he shifted his gaze to Orissa. "Do you think it's romantic, Mrs. Graham?" "Yes, of course. She broke into a sweet smile and looked at Kingsley and Jonathan. Thank you both. Both of them exchanged a humorous look. We only offered a hand. Orissa, you should be thanking Benjamin. He was the one who planned it all. Kingsley shot a pointed look at Benjamin, his eyes bright with amusement. She smiled and looked at the man sitting across from her. All right, let's dig in before the food gets cold. Benjamin swept a glance over them and filled the kids' plates with food. Let's eat. The kids were overjoyed. Thank you, Daddy. Thanks, Mr. Graham. Eat up. He did the same for Orissa. Okay. She nodded with a smile. You should eat too. Tisk, did you forget about us? You'd better watch yourselves. Kingsley teased. Jonathan shook his head and repressed a smile while Benjamin glared at him and turned toward Edwin. Please prepare more dishes. Yes, Mr. Graham, Edwin replied and hurried to kitchen. Here, salute. Kingsley poured himself a drink and filled Jonathan's glass, hollering, today's a special day. All of you must drink with me. Benjamin arched his brow and clinked glasses with both of them. Even Orissa followed suit. Orissa, aren't you supposed to abstain from alcohol while on medication? Kingsley quipped. A little would never hurt. She took a sip. You have never joined us for a drink before, Jonathan joked. A rush of embarrassed color tinged her cheeks. What do you know? Benjamin's proposal is a romantic occasion, so why shouldn't she indulge herself? Kingsley bantered good-naturedly, shoveling food down his throat and knocking back the liquor. She merely smiled. Benjamin ignored them and periodically scooped food for the kids and her. The children were enjoying themselves, and Orissa returned to drinking juice with the kids after only one glass of alcohol. Edwin served a few more dishes, and everyone had a whale of a time. Kingsley filmed a short video of the spread to show Sean what he was missing out on while attending a seminar. You're bad, Mr. Watts. Gavin glared at Kingsley. Kingsley tousled his hair. How am I bad? I'm trying to include Mr. Bailey in our activities so he doesn't feel left out. The kids laughed and played amongst themselves after the meal. Mommy, when are we having the cake? Jessie casted longing glances at the cake, her mouth watering for a slice. Orissa cradled her head and replied gently, the adults are still eating. Go play for a little longer. You just finished eating. Okay. Jessie scampered away. Benjamin was drinking with Kingsley and Jonathan when Jessie came asking for the cake for the second time. He told Orissa, get them the cake, then. Orissa smiled. Okay. She took the cake and cut a slice for each kid. Yeah, we have cake now. Thank you, Mommy. Thanks, Mommy. Their delicate voices tugged at her heart, and she gave an indulgent smile. Have a seat and eat slowly. Okay. The kids nodded obediently and sat down to finish their cake. Orissa took a slice for Kingsley and Jonathan as well. Have some cake, Mr. Watts and Mr. Patterson. Thank you, Orissa. She offered a few more slices to Edwin and the helpers. Try some of the cake. Thank you, Mrs. Graham. Thank you for all your hard work tonight. Orissa sliced a piece for Benjamin as well in a moment of happiness. And one for you. Okay. He looked at her with a burning stare. Give me the knife. She handed him the knife, wary. He accepted it and carved a slice for her larger than everybody else's. This is yours. Enjoy. Warmth stole over her. Sure. Chapter 913. Orissa, Benjamin sliced you a piece of cake. Even we do not have such honor, Kingsley teased. She laughed. I don't believe he's never done something like this for you before. It's true. Kingsley nodded. Jonathan chimed in with a smile. He's right, Orissa. Benjamin has never spooned food for us, let alone sliced us a piece of cake. She glanced at the man opposite her and refused to meet his gaze boring into her. None of you are women, so why would I do that? Benjamin snorted. Kingsley and Jonathan shared a conspiratorial smile. So you have never sliced a cake for another woman? Benjamin glared at Kingsley. They're not my wife, so they aren't my concern. Kingsley shot him a thumbs up. You're the best, boss. Orissa chuckled and lowered her head to have a bite of the cake as the kids snuck glances at them. Jasper's eyes were narrowed into two slits. Mr. Graham also scooped food for us. Kingsley and Jonathan smiled at the kids. That's how much your daddy loves you all. Jonathan quipped. Benjamin used to do it solely for Gavin. The kids grinned widely. Benjamin had 2 bites of cake before putting down his fork. He got up to get the kids a second serving of cake once he noticed they were done. Do you both still want more cake? His gaze flitted to Kingsley and Jonathan. I do, Kingsley said hurriedly. None for me. Jonathan smiled. Benjamin nodded and cut another smaller slice for Arissa before leaving the rest for Kingsley. Is the rest mine, boss? Kingsley was delighted. All yours. Benjamin gave him a look. Kingsley snatched the cake for himself. Do you still want some cake, Arissa? No, thanks. She smiled. Benjamin took his portion of the cake and placed it in front of her. Finish this as well. Her eyes cut to him. Aren't you going to finish that? He shook his head. No, you can have the rest. He drew a chair and sat beside her, continuing to drink with Kingsley and Jonathan. The kids finished their cake and put down their utensils to wipe their mouths. Don't forget to drink more juice, sweethearts. Arissa bade. All right. The kids all nodded and took a sip of juice before scurrying off to play. Arissa's eyes never left them as a smile hung on her lips. She finished her cake, continued nursing her juice, and listened to the conversation around her. Benjamin glanced sideways at her. Are you full? Yes. She nodded. Edwin and the helpers came to clear the table and served a platter of fruits and some dessert. Dinner had been underway for almost 2 hours before they adjourned to the living room. Arissa brought the kids upstairs for a shower after the band had already left. Did you have fun today, Mommy? Gavin craned his neck to look up at her. Yes. She rumpled his head with a smile. Zachary broke into a toothy grin. Was it romantic, Mommy? Yes. Arissa was practically overflowing with happiness as she hugged the bouquet of roses to herself. She herded the kids upstairs. Jessie wore a huge smile. Your ring is huge, Mommy. Arissa's gaze fell on the ring on her finger, and her lips quirked up into a smile. It's very beautiful too. Oliver smiled while glancing at the ring. Mr. Graham isn't too bad, is he? Jasper nodded. Tim smiled. Those flowers are pretty as well. Arissa caressed his face, and his smile widened. She stared at his smile and couldn't tear her gaze away. Mommy can't take her eyes away from Tim. Jasper teased. Arissa trained her gaze on him. I'll stare at you as well. Jasper tittered. The apple of his cheeks flushed with a rosy tint, and he looked adorable. Chapter 914. Go, go, go bath, quick, Arissa urged. We're going to bath, Mommy. You should do the same. While saying that, Gavin corralled his siblings to go and take a bath. Arissa giggled. Jessie, do you want me to bathe you, or are you bathing with your brothers? Jessie grinned so widely that her eyes became mere slits. I'm bathing with Gavin and the others. Chuckling, Arissa brought the children into the room and adjusted the water temperature for them. Make it quick, okay? Don't play in there, she exhorted. Only after doing that did she return to the bedroom with the flowers and arrange them nicely. Taking a step back, she scrutinized the arrangement from every angle. When she found it satisfactory, she went to the children's room and laid their pajamas out for them. I'm coming in, sweethearts. No, the children cried out in unison, denying her entry. The corners of Arissa's mouth twitched imperceptibly. I want to go in to bathe Jessie. She has already bathed by herself, Mommy. Zachary hollered. Torn between amusement and exasperation, Arissa could only sit outside and wait for them to come out. A while later, restlessness swamped her, and she made the bed. Finally, the 6 children stepped out of the bathroom with towels wrapped around them. We're done, Mommy. Aren't you going to take a bath, Mommy? Smiling, Arissa wiped them dry. I've already bathed. At once, the eyes of all 6 children widened in surprise. Recalling that she had bathed right after arriving home, they all burst into laughter. Arissa then snagged their clothes and helped them change. I'll help dress you all. All the children waited obediently for her to help them into their clothes. Mommy, did Daddy give you anything else when he proposed to you? Gavin looked at her curiously. Arissa swept her gaze over the children, only to see that the others were likewise gazing at her in intrigue. As she dressed Tim, she admitted, he gave me the key to the study. At her answer, astonishment flooded Gavin. Zachary was also puzzled. Why did he give you a key? We don't keep the study locked. Oliver was similarly bewildered. Marissa's lips curved upward slightly. It's the significance of it. Hearing that, Jasper blinked. Did he not give you any money, Mommy? Marissa chortled, pinching his nose. So, did he give you any money, Mommy? Gavin eyed her, smiling widely. That sent Marissa into a fit of giggles. Yup, he gave me a few bank cards. Wow, all the children clapped their hands. Congratulations, Mommy. Sheer amusement inundated Marissa. Good Lord, they're too fixated on this issue. How much money is in there, Mommy? Jess's curiosity was piqued. In response, Marissa shrugged. No idea. Disappointed, Jessie stuck her tongue out. Mommy, Daddy must have given you all his money. Gavin grinned from ear to ear. He kept a bank card for himself, Marissa revealed, for she saw that. Where are the bank cards he gave you, Mommy? I'll know the amount with a single glance. Naturally, Gavin was excited beyond words. In my handbag. By then, Marissa had already dressed them all. The children started urging her to bring them to her bedroom for a look. Left with no other choice, Marissa could only bring them over. Then, she snagged her handbag. All 6 children surrounded her on the couch. Thus, she took out the bank cards and key given by Benjamin for them to have a look. At a single glance, Gavin knew that Benjamin had really handed the control of his finances to Marissa. Mommy, the bank card Daddy kept for himself contains the least money. This contains the most money. Holding a bank card in hand, he regarded Marissa with merriment dancing in his eyes. Do you know how much money is in there, Gavin? Zachary looked at him in curiosity. At that question, Gavin chortled. A fortune. Billions, at the very least. Tim wore a perplexed expression, having no idea what that figure meant. Conversely, Zachary, Oliver, and Jasper understood it all too well. Their eyes went as wide as saucers in shock. Jessie was also aware of the significance of it, so she was over the moon. Meanwhile, Marissa's lips twitched. Does Benjamin have that much cash? Chapter 915. Marissa stroked Gavin's head. You've seen it before, Gavin. Tilting his head a fraction, Gavin pondered for a moment. I've seen it once when Mr. Watts brought it up with Daddy, asking why he kept so much cash on hand instead of investing it. In truth, Marissa had the same question. What was his answer? I forgot. Scratching his head, Gavin flashed her a sheepish smile. At that, mirth bubbled within Marissa. Suddenly remembering that Darius had also given her a monetary gift, she furtively took it out and peeked into the envelope. At the sight of a bank card, surprise inundated her. Oh, who gave you this, Mommy? Oliver's eyes lit up, and he was thrilled to the core. You've got tons of money now, Mommy. Jasper exclaimed happily. Marissa chuckled softly. This is from your grandpa. She studied the bank card, but she couldn't tell how much money was in it. Well, I thought he gave me cash. Mommy, you've got a fortune now, so you don't need to work anymore. Jessie hugged her, as happy as a clam. Caressing her head, Marissa countered, I've still got to work. Otherwise, I'll turn into a lazy bug. That's okay. You've already married Daddy, so he'll support you henceforth. Gavin beamed so widely that his eyes crinkled. Don't work yourself to the bone anymore, Mommy. Zachary reminded Marissa solemnly. In turn, Marissa was rendered speechless. When have I worked myself to the bone? Zachary merely smiled without saying anything. When I grow up, Mommy, I'll make money and support you. Tim vowed. Touched, Marissa hugged the children and kissed them. I'll be waiting. When you've all grown up, sweethearts, I'll sit back and enjoy life. Grinning, all 6 children pecked her on the cheek. It's time for bed, sweethearts. Marissa urged, sweeping her gaze over them. Nevertheless, the children clung to her. Can we sleep with you, Mommy? Filled with anticipation, Gavin looked at her without even blinking. Seeing that they all wanted to sleep with her, Marissa relented and bobbed her head. Sure. The children immediately cheered. In the next second, they sprinted to the bed and climbed up swiftly. Marissa was a touch startled to see that. Aren't we going to your room? In response, all 6 children shook their heads. Mommy, let's just sleep here. lest Mr. Graham goes over and carries you back here," Oliver declared. Unbidden, the corners of Orissa's mouth twitched. "Sleep first. I'll go and change for a while." "Okay, make it quick, Mommy," the children replied in concert. "We'll be waiting for you, Mommy." Smiling, Orissa got up and changed into her pajamas. Then, she washed her face and brushed her teeth before leaving the bathroom to sleep with the children. "Mommy." No sooner had she lay down than the children rolled over and hugged her. "Good night, sweethearts." Orissa gave each of them a goodnight kiss. In reciprocation, they all pecked her on the cheek. "Good night, Mommy." As Orissa hugged the six of them, bliss imbued her. Snagging her phone, she sent Benjamin a text before slumbering alongside the children. Benjamin only went upstairs when he was done drinking with Kingsley and Jonathan. Entering the bedroom, he walked toward the bed. At the sight of all the children there, he arched a brow. Since they were all over Orissa, he bent down and carried them to the side before changing their clothes. Only after doing that did he turn around and go to the bathroom to wash up. He changed into pajamas before getting into bed and laying down beside Orissa. Awakened, Orissa opened her eyes and glanced at Benjamin. You're here." "Yeah." Hugging her, Benjamin rested his chin on her shoulder. His breath reeked faintly of alcohol. Orissa shuddered as his breath tickled her cheek. She cast a look at the children. "Go and sleep on the other side, lest they fall off the bed." "The bed is big enough, so that won't happen," Benjamin murmured. Subsequently, he kissed her ear. Chapter 916. Orissa trembled slightly. Meanwhile, Benjamin proceeded to kiss her on the cheek. "You allowed the kids to sleep here." His voice was deep and rich, carrying a trace of sultriness. Flashing him a smile, Orissa answered softly, "They wanted to sleep here." "Why, can't they do that?" With a quirk on his brow, Benjamin hugged her tightly. "Don't spoil them too much." Despondency washed over Orissa. I'm spoiling them because I'm sleeping with them. I didn't spoil them." Inching closer to the children, she reached out and patted the covers. After ascertaining that the children were all tucked under the covers, she gathered them close to her. Behind her, the man drew close to her again. She twisted her head and glanced at him. Pulling her into his arms, Benjamin rested his chin on her shoulder. The air from his exhalations brushed across her cheek, making it tingle. "Good night, honey." He then stole another kiss from her. Orissa's heart pounded, but her lips curved into a sweet arc. "Good night." Dissatisfaction radiated off the man. He drawled, "How should you be calling me?" Orissa was stunned for a moment. In a low voice, she queried, "How?" Turning her face around, Benjamin kissed her right away. Orissa almost suffocated, but she didn't dare move for fear of waking the children. The kiss went on for so long that her head spun. Only when he was appeased did he stop. His rapid breath hit her in the face every so often, tinged with his mature male pheromones, making her skip several beats. "Let's sleep." Benjamin reluctantly kissed the corner of her mouth before sleeping with her in his arms. Alas, Orissa's heartbeat continued racing for a long time. Even when the man's breathing evened out, she was still awake. On one side of her was Benjamin, and on the other side were the children. As she listened to their even breathing, the corners of her mouth inexorably turned up. An indeterminate time passed before she dozed off as well. In the middle of the night, Jessie woke up to relieve herself. She groggily climbed over to Orissa. "I want to pee, Mommy," Orissa muttered in her sleep, not quite awake. On the contrary, Benjamin woke up. He got up and scooped Jessie up. "I'll go with you." Jessie sprawled on his shoulder. Walking into the bathroom, Benjamin placed her on the ground before pulling her pants down. At once, he was staggered. With her eyes half closed, Jessie sat on the toilet bowl. Benjamin gaped at her in disbelief, utterly shocked. "Oh my God, she's a girl." Yawning, Jessie stood up and pulled her pants back up. The toilet flushed automatically. Trotting out, she promptly climbed back into bed and continued sleeping. Benjamin was left in the bathroom, rooted to the spot in shock and delight. A long while later, he brushed the tip of his tongue against the inside of his cheek before whirling around and leaving the space. Standing by the bed, he stared down at the woman sleeping soundly on the bed. He gritted his teeth. Well, well, well. She actually kept me in the dark about this for such a long time. No wonder they all acted so secretive back then and doted on Jessie so much. I lectured her several times, but she merely smiled without telling me the truth. At the thought that they had been keeping it a secret from him to that very day, he clenched his jaw. Yet, he was also both surprised and thrilled. Subsequently, he shifted his gaze to Jessie, who was sleeping sprawled beside Orissa. She appeared dainty with her mouth open slightly, looking as adorable as ever. He sensed his heart softening considerably. When he recalled how he had previously reprimanded her and told her to imitate her brother's independence, his heart clenched painfully. Feeling guilty deep within, he leaned down and kissed her cheek. He tucked the covers around her before laying back down. Dipping his head, he sank his teeth into Orissa's shoulder. Orissa merely grunted before rolling over and continuing to sleep. She instinctively nestled into the man's embrace. That action of hers took the edge off Benjamin's fury to a certain degree. He pinched her cheek gently. How long were you planning to keep me in the dark? If it weren't for Jessie sleeping with us tonight and getting up to pee, I wouldn't have realized that she's a girl. Chapter 917. Once more, Benjamin pinched Orissa's cheek. The excitement continued coursing through him for a long time. Reflexively dodging, Orissa burrowed into his arms. Benjamin looked down at her peaceful countenance and gritted her teeth. She'll be getting it from me. He then pinched her nose, only to see her dodging and nestling into his embrace again. In a flash, his desire to tease her vanished into thin air. His thin lips curved upward slightly. Propping his head up with a hand, he gazed at the little girl sleeping beside Orissa. Jessie smacked her lips from time to time, looking indescribably cute. He reached out and stroked her face with a hint of an indulgent smile playing on his lips. It turns out that I've got a daughter. A proud smile manifested on his face and remained there for some time. He didn't even know how long passed before he finally fell asleep. When Benjamin woke up the next day, Orissa and the children were no longer in bed. He glanced at the time, only to see that he had awakened an hour later than usual. After washing up, he went downstairs. At the sight of Orissa and the children helping her out in the kitchen, he went over in huge strides. Good morning, kids. Good morning, Daddy. Good morning, Mr. Graham. The 6 children greeted Benjamin in return, one after another. An indulgent smile bloomed on Benjamin's face, and he stroked their heads. Then, he walked right up to Orissa and wrapped a long arm around her. Leaning down, he planted a kiss on her. Good morning, honey. Orissa's face flamed. Good morning. All the children regarded them with bright eyes and smiles on their faces. Mr. Graham kissed Mommy again. Jasper quipped. Mortification deluged Orissa, and she put some distance between them. Conversely, Benjamin wasn't embarrassed at all. He swept his gaze over Jasper. Is it against the law? In response, Jasper chuckled dryly. Still, you can't do so in front of us. How shameless. Zachary interjected with a harumph. Benjamin chortled softly. You can go somewhere else. The 6 children were rendered speechless, the corners of their mouths twitching. How did Daddy become so shameless? Just then, Orissa bumped Benjamin's arm lightly. Immediately, Benjamin swung his gaze over and stared at her. Meeting his scorching and unfathomable gaze, Orissa blinked, feeling somewhat bemused. Come with me. Benjamin took her hand and started walking out. Hey, I'm in the middle of preparing breakfast. Orissa tried to stop him from dragging her out but to no avail. The eyes of all 6 children followed them intently, their curiosity piqued. Benjamin pulled Orissa along until they reached a corner. Blocking the children's curious gazes, he pinned her against the wall with an arm. Orissa's heart skipped a few beats. As the man's enthralling pheromones drifted into her nostrils, an enticing shade of scarlet tinted her cheeks. What are you doing? She eyed him dubiously, only to find things all the more mystifying at his indecipherable expression. Leaning down, Benjamin locked his eyes on her. You've been lying to me long enough, Orissa York. Orissa's eyes went wide at the man's accusation. On instinct, she countered, how have I been lying to you? Benjamin's thin lips lifted a fraction, curving into a devilish smirk. In a low voice, he questioned, what do you think? A trace of guilt slithered into Arissa when she met his enigmatic gaze that seemingly saw right through her. What exactly are you trying to say? Considering the suddenness of his question, she had no idea what he was referring to. Narrowing his eyes, Benjamin continued staring at her. He brushed his long and slender fingers across her face. However, Arissa dodged. So, you're hiding more than one thing from me. What am I hiding from you? Spit it out. His interrogation had Arissa wholly confounded. Gritting his teeth, Benjamin leaned close to her ear and stated in a deep voice, Jessie is a girl. Why did you keep me in the dark? Arissa's eyes went wide in astonishment. Ah, so he was referring to this. When did you find out about it? She faltered. Benjamin narrowed his eyes dangerously. Were you not planning to tell me until I found out about it myself? Swallowing, Arissa beamed at him ingratiatingly. Chapter 918. No, of course not. Arissa looked at Benjamin apologetically. Benjamin's eyes narrowed into slits, and his voice carried a hint of warning. No, he pressed even closer to her. Plastered tightly against the wall, Arissa stole a peek at the man inches away from her and whispered, I initially wanted to tell you, but I was interrupted several times. Then, without warning, Benjamin bit her ear. At once, Arissa blushed to the tip of her ears. Then, you continued keeping me in the dark. As Benjamin spoke, his breath hit her in the face with every exhalation, unbelievably scorching. Gulping, Arissa riposted lowly, was it my fault? You were always domineering, so I couldn't help wanting to keep it a secret from you. Benjamin's eyes remained pinned on her. Then, you sat back and watched me make a fool of myself. Arissa blinked guiltily, flashing him a sheepish smile when she met his gaze. You didn't make a fool of yourself. You even chastised me several times. At that, Benjamin snorted coldly. Why didn't you explain and tell me Jessie is a girl? Was that so difficult? Blinking, Arissa didn't dare say anything further. Everyone tacitly kept him in the dark. And admittedly, I wanted to pull a prank on him, so I didn't tell him. Benjamin glowered at her. Am I the only one who doesn't know about it? Again, Arissa sneaked a look at him. Probably not. Who else doesn't know? Benjamin stared right into the depths of her eyes. Mr. Patterson, Arissa admitted softly. Benjamin's lips pressed into a thin line. Great, just great, Arissa. Arissa blinked once more. Everyone has been keeping their mouths shut. It wasn't just me. I'm sorry, I was wrong. She apologized in a whisper, stealing a look at him. Benjamin kept her locked in his arms. I only merit an apology. Hearing that, Arissa studied him carefully with crystalline eyes. What do you want, then? What do you think? Benjamin arched a brow domineeringly, emanating an imposing aura. Arissa's lips twitched. This is no big deal anyway. How would I know if you don't spell it out? Stroking her face, Benjamin leaned down. All of a sudden, the 6 children poked their heads out and fixated their eyes on them. Are you picking on Mommy, Daddy? Gavin eyeballed Benjamin without even blinking once. Likewise, Tim, Zachary, Oliver, Jasper, and Jessie had their eyes locked on him. The look in their eyes was condemning. His gaze flickering, Benjamin turned his eyes to the children. Do you think I'm picking on your mommy? 6 pairs of eyes bore into him unblinkingly. Does he think we can't tell? Mommy, was Daddy picking on you earlier? Gavin swung his gaze at Arissa. Arissa turned to her son, but before she could speak, Benjamin threw her a warning look. She hastily changed her tune. No, sweethearts. He was just asking me about something. I know he threatened you, Mommy. Don't be afraid, for we're all here. Gavin shot daggers at Benjamin. Arissa promptly smirked. He's smart. At the children's glares, Benjamin rubbed his nose and dropped his hold on Arissa. Then, he explained, I was really discussing something with your mommy. I asked her why she didn't tell me that Jessie is a girl. Following that, surprise showed on the faces of all 6 children. You know, Daddy. Seeing that even Tim was aware of the matter, Benjamin pursed his lips. The lot of you are really good at keeping secrets, hiding them from me together. A trace of guilt flashed across the children's faces. HMPH. Serves you right since you're so dense that you couldn't even tell. How dumb, Gavin retorted. You've even seen Jessie wearing a dress, but you were still fooled. You only have yourself to blame. Zachary harumphed arrogantly, scoffing at Benjamin. The corners of Benjamin's mouth twitched. Well, I didn't expect them to lie to me about that. Chapter 919. Casting a glance at Benjamin, Orissa turned her head to the side and giggled furtively. Benjamin cut his gaze over and stared at her. Lifting his hand, he pinched her cheek. However, Orissa dodged and gazed at him innocently. You're not allowed to pinch Mommy's cheek, Mr. Graham. Oliver shouted at Benjamin, sticking his hands on his hips. Verily, he did seem somewhat intimidating while all irate and somber. Why? Benjamin teased, his interest piqued. No reason. It'll be painful for her if you pinch her cheek. Oliver scowled at him. Quirking a brow, Benjamin lifted his hand and pinched his son's petite cheek. Is it painful? Oliver merely blinked. It isn't painful, but he obviously pinched Mommy hard just now. It's a different story. At that, Benjamin twisted his body sideways and glanced at Orissa. Was it painful earlier? In response, Orissa blinked. A tiny bit. Words eluded Benjamin. Look, Mommy's face had turned red from your pinch. Jasper exclaimed. Stricken, Benjamin swung his gaze at Orissa. When he saw that her cheek was a tad red, he kneaded it for a bit. Does it still hurt? His tenderness had warmth suffusing Orissa. A tiny bit. She turned her face to the side, signaling him to knead it further. Benjamin's gaze darkened, a spark of desire igniting within his eyes. Throughout it all, the 6 children looked on intently. Noticing their stares, Orissa said to them, Go to the dining room and get ready to have breakfast. The children looked at her before glancing at Benjamin warily. Pinning his eyes on Orissa, Benjamin jested, The kids care about you so much that they regard me as a villain though I'm their daddy. In turn, Orissa flashed him a sheepish smile. Serves you right for doing something they would misunderstand. Harumphing softly, Benjamin shifted his gaze to the children. Come with me for breakfast. Gavin eyed him dubiously. Breakfast isn't ready yet. Benjamin's eyes remained fixated on the children. Then, are you all hungry now? The children looked at each other before they nodded honestly. Yeah, go and sit down. I'll cook for you all. After saying that, Benjamin headed to the kitchen. Surprise flooded Orissa. He's making breakfast. She quickly followed after him. Her jaw dropped when she saw that he was really cooking. At her expression, Benjamin arched a brow. Just wait with the kids outside. Truly, it was rare that he was in the mood to cook. Noticing that he seemed to handle things well, Orissa queried, You can cook? Yeah, Benjamin grunted in reply without taking his eyes off the pot. Edwin was also in the kitchen, assisting him. Wait outside with the kids first, Mrs. Graham. Mr. Graham's cooking skills are pretty good, so he'll have no problems preparing breakfast. Orissa chuckled before studying Benjamin again. Clocking his skillful movements, she walked in. This soup of mine should be ready. Turning, Benjamin cast a look at her. Have you added any seasoning? Nope. Benjamin proceeded to uncover the lid of the pot and add some seasoning. Subsequently, he sampled it. You can add the ingredients now, Orissa reminded, shooting him a glance. Thus, Benjamin carried the plate of offal at the side over. The instant he made out what it was, his brows creased deeply. Where did this come from? Orissa threw a look at him. From the market. We're eating this. Snapping his head over, Benjamin glared at her. Orissa blinked. Clocking his aversion, she hurriedly took it from him, afraid he would chuck them away. Why not? It's delicious. Pressing his lips into a thin line, Benjamin turned and admonished Edwin. You bought it for her. Mrs. Graham loves this, so I prepared some, Edwin hastily explained. Why are you criticizing Edwin? This soup is scrumptious. Go away. I'll do it myself. Disregarding Benjamin's pickiness, Orissa poured the plate of offal into the pot and stirred it, keeping it simmering at low heat. A frown marred Benjamin's face, for he never ate offal. Chapter 920. Orissa then added some parsley roots. Thereafter, the smell became even more fragrant. How fragrant! Inhaling deeply, Jessie salivated. All the children leaned against the door frame, salivating in hunger. Orissa jerked her head around and swept a gaze over them. Go and sit down, sweethearts. The soup will be ready soon. Utterly thrilled, the children nodded fervently. They tarried for a while before trotting back to their seats. Sometime later, Orissa tried a sip of the soup. Undeniably, Benjamin added just the perfect amount of seasoning. She stirred it a few times before adding some chopped celery. Then, she turned off the heat. Done. Benjamin eyed the soup in the pot. Other than the soup, he didn't like any of the ingredients in it. Glimpsing the man's frown, Edwin stifled a bark of laughter. I'm done frying the ham, Mr. Graham. Glancing at the semi-finished food at the side, Benjamin murmured in acknowledgement before he continued preparing something else for breakfast. Meanwhile, Orissa carried the pot out. Wait for a while, sweethearts. It's still very hot. Got it, Mommy. All 6 children bobbed their heads obediently. They sat in their seats quietly, none of them clamoring for food. Smiling, Orissa swept her gaze over them. Then, she spun around and went to retrieve some bowls and spoons. Let's have breakfast, Mr. Graham. She called out to Benjamin with the silverware in hand. Go ahead and eat with the kids first. Benjamin shot her a glare. Mirth bubbled within Orissa. You really don't want to eat? Nope. Pursing his lips, Benjamin continued frying some eggs. At that, Orissa curled her lips. He's simply missing out on this delicious feast. What's this snail, Gavin? When Tim spotted some snails in the pot, his eyes went wide in incredulity. That's tripe. It's delish, Gavin answered. Understanding dawned upon Tim, and he muttered, I thought a snail fell in. Hearing that, Zachary, Oliver, and Jasper burst out laughing. Orissa happened to overhear her son's adorable remark as she exited the kitchen. She couldn't help giggling. This is delicious, sweetheart. It only looks unappetizing. Smiling shyly, Tim folded his hands on the dining table as though he was in the classroom. Orissa's heart melted at how adorable he was. Snagging the bowls, she scooped 6 bowls of soup and placed them before each child, from Gavin to Jesse. It's hot, so be careful and eat slowly, sweethearts. Okay, thank you, Mommy. The children thanked her while beaming from ear to ear. At the sight of the joyful smiles on their faces, the corners of Orissa's mouth lifted. She also scooped a bowl of soup for herself. After doing so, she sat down and ate with them. As Mr. Graham not eating, Mommy. Zachary cast his gaze over at the kitchen. Your daddy probably doesn't like this, Orissa replied with a smile. All 6 children acted in unison. They scooped a spoonful of soup and blew on it before cautiously drinking it. Oliver and Jasper flashed Orissa a thumbs up. It's great, Mommy. In return, Orissa smiled at them. Yes, it's yummy. Jess's eyes twinkled, and she smacked her lips. Even Tim and Zachary offered their compliments. It's delicious, Mommy. Taking a sip, Gavin grinned widely. Your soup is really delish, Mommy. Pride washed over Orissa when she saw that all the children liked it. It was your daddy who added the seasoning just now. If it weren't for the ingredients you added, Mommy, it wouldn't possibly taste so great. Jasper still felt it was the ingredients his mother prepared that were delicious. As he spoke, he swiftly drank a few spoonfuls of soup. Tim tried the tripe and found it to be very much chewy. This is really yummy. It was his first time eating tripe. Seeing that he liked it, Orissa gave him all the tripes in her bowl. Eat slowly, sweetheart. Don't hurry, lest you get burnt. Okay. Nodding, Tim continued having the soup. Gavin also picked out the tripes in his bowl and gave them to him. Thank you, Gavin. Zachary followed suit. Here you go, Tim. Have more. Verily, he doted on his brother.